Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whenever you're watching this year 5. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying whatever you're doing, being at home or being at school or wherever you are. This week, I'm going to push you even further and I'm going to ask you to do something even trickier. I think it's trickier. We'll see how you go. So what I want you to do this week is I want you to pick a piece of furniture in your house. And that is what you are going to draw for me. So just like all the other weeks that we've looked at drawing, you are going to need to think about light source. You need to think about where your light is coming from, what is light and what is dark, okay? And you need to think about making your shading really smooth from light to dark and blended together. If you're not feeling confident about that, keep practicing some tonal tornadoes first and they will help a lot, remember. Once you've picked your piece of furniture, you're going to have a look at it and you're going to try and see what shapes it is made up of. I'm going to try and draw this cool chair that I've got. Insert picture of chair here. So when I look at that chair, I can see that for the most part, it's made up of cubes and rectangular prisms. It's got a rectangular prism for the base, a rectangular prism for the back, and the legs basically act like a cube with the lines that I'll draw, except without the base lines on it. I'm going to show you what I mean by drawing it, and hopefully that will make it a bit clearer, because right now it probably just seems like I'm talking like a bit of a crazy lady. I'm going to show you what I mean, and I'm going to have a go drawing it, and you can watch me do that. Next, we'll give it a go. So I'm going to have a go at drawing this chair, and I'm going to do my best for you to be able to see as much of what I'm doing as I can. So I'm going to start with the seat part of this. And like I said, put it on a bit of an angle. I really find that it helps. So I'm going to start with drawing that facing shape that I can see on the side here, which is just a rectangle. Maybe a bit longer. And then I'm going to fill it in the exact same way that I would draw a normal rectangular prism. Done. Part number 1. And the whole time while I'm doing this, I'm actually making sure that I'm really looking at what I'm drawing. And I'm making adjustments while I'm doing it. Now I'm going to make these corners rounder a bit later, so I'm just going to leave them like that for now. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the back part. Now the back part matches up with this line here. So I'm going to really lightly sketch, super lightly, straight up. And I'm actually going to leave a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to start with that next shape that I've got up here. So these are going to start becoming the legs of the chairs, and this is going to be my back. So I'm going to close that bit off, darken the lines that I want to keep a little bit, and then start turning that into just another rectangular prism. Now, don't worry, I do acknowledge that this is really tricky. I'm sorry, I like to challenge you. You know this. This is part of it. Okay, so that's basically the start of my chair. So I can see that the legs of the chair actually come out of the back and they connect underneath. So I'm going to start drawing these little bits, and I'm going to have bits that come out of here that connect. Now just remember, I have a slightly different angle to what you're seeing, so it may not match very well, but at the moment it's matching what I can see. So just remember that everyone can see things from a different angle, and that makes their work look different. So this leg and this leg need to match. So I've got a little bit of this coming out of here, and then same thing on this side, a little bit of a curve which matches up to that sticky outy bit. Probably a bit too much of a curve actually, Miss Emily. Bit less. And this is why it's important to draw light, so that if you do make mistakes, you can rub them out. Now I've gone a bit crazy here, you might think, and I've actually drawn straight over the top, but I've done it really light so that I can rub it out. And this is just to make sure that my lines all match up. So I'm going to rub that bit out. Now, because we don't want our leg chairs to be wonky, otherwise we fall off. Then, little one at the front, which just goes straight down. And same on this side. Now, holding this book has been really hard and trying to draw at the same time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch for you looking at it over the head while I do some fixing up and when I do my shading. Give me a moment. Okay, so here's my drawing. Hopefully you can see it a bit clearly now, and it's a little bit less hard on my hands. So I'm going to start rounding off the edges. So my chair, and hopefully I can work out how to put a picture of the chair next to this drawing video at the same time, but I'm not sure I'm good enough at the internet for that. We'll see how I go. So my chair doesn't have really harsh, sharp edges like how I've drawn it. It has soft, round edges. So that's what I'm just going to do now. I'm literally just giving it rounder edges and rounder corners than how I've drawn it. Just taking my time, and I'm going over my lines a little bit darker. So that if I do any rubbing, I don't lose any of the lines that I really want to keep. So then, oh, probably wasn't dark enough. There we go. Looking pretty good if you ask me. I'm just going to give it a bit of a rub and a bit of a tidy in some of those dodgy sections that I did. And then I'm going to get started on my shading. Now, I'm not going to record me talking while I'm doing the whole shading because that is going to be very boring, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit. But I just want you to get the idea of how to shade something like this. So my light source is going to be coming from up here. So where is going to be lightest? Closest to the light source. Where is going to be darkest? Furthest away. And remember, you need to shade each individual face of every shape on its own. Just fixing things as I go. And I don't like that one either. This is why we draw light, because then we can always change things. Now, your legs of your chair, if that's what you choose to draw, they're not going to look perfectly the same length on the ground. They're not going to all be flat along the bottom here. You just want to make sure that they're all roughly the same length. I think this one needs to be a bit longer, but I think the rest aren't too shabby. Front one, That's better. All right, I use my pencil to measure. It's something I've already got in my hands. You don't need perfect measurements for doing something like this. Sometimes you just need to check that things are the right length. So I mark it on my finger, on my pencil with my finger, and then just move it and compare. Look at that, pretty good. All right, let's do some shading. All right, good luck year 5. I would recommend when you're doing this yourself to try and start by picking something that is quite cubic or rectangular prismy. My couch would be good. That chair I drew is a good example, or even something like a bookshelf or a cabinet, something like that is a good place to start. Something that's one of the shapes that we're familiar with in art. And if your if your object has lots of details in it, include those details in your artwork. That is what helps it look more realistic and also makes it look more like the objects and makes it really easy for us to identify what it is meant to be. It also helps to draw things on a teeny little bit of an angle just so you can get all the different faces in there. If you have any questions or something that you're not sure about, or you just want to share your artwork, email me, please. Can't wait to see what you do. Good luck. It is a little bit tricky, but I think you guys can do it. Do your best.